Welcome back to Switch Talk today, and we're gonna recap the NBA draft, talk about winners, losers, and just my overall thoughts about it. First things first is that Detroit won the draft. They got two of my top 10 rated prospects. I think Jaden Ivey is the second best player in the class. Him and Cade gonna be one of the best backcourts, if not the best, in a few years and for years to come. And they also managed to get Jalen Duren. They needed a piece at the five. They were missing that. I like Isaiah Stewart, but Duren, he projects as a better player, more defense, switchable, taller, bigger, stronger. So love the pick right there. I think this is gonna really elevate Detroit, and I wouldn't be surprised if next year they're a playing team, or it takes them a year to learn, and then the next year they're in the play-in. They become a playoff team later down the line, but I think they're gonna be a team contending, at least upward in the right direction. I'm just super excited. That was the fit that I wanted most. This draft was Jaden Ivey to Detroit, and the fact that they also managed to get Jalen Duren, that's just a perfect draft. I don't think you could ask for a better draft than that for the Detroit Pistons. Now for my second winner, I got the Orlando Magic. I said that I would take Paolo if I was the GM, and that's exactly what they did. They needed the guy, they needed the piece, they just needed their guy, and they got it too. And also managing to get Caleb Houston to add more shooting. This is a team that lacks shooting. I guess you could say all the top teams were winners, at least the top three in Detroit. But Oklahoma, you got Chet Holmgren, who I had tied third as the best prospect in the class, 3A kind of thing. I really love this fit. Chet's a great player. He's gonna fit in so nicely with Giddey, Shea, and the fact that they also managed to get Ousmane Dieng. He has so much potential at 6'10", who can handle the ball, potential as a shooter, and he's a really good defender. I really like Ousmane Dieng's game. And they also got Jalen Williams from Santa Clara, and they also got Jalen Williams from Arkansas. But to talk about Williams from Santa Clara, I really like his game, but I'm still a bit confused by the fit. I think OKC has a lot of young talent, but I feel like a lot of these guys kind of need the ball in their hands, if that makes sense. Unless they're not committed to Trey Mann, or they're not committed to whoever they drafted, really. But besides that, I love all their picks. They had an excellent draft. Now my next draft winner is the Houston Rockets. They got Jabari Smith, who I thought probably fit them the best out of all the top three. I know a lot of people wanted Paolo, but I really think Jabari Smith just fit them the best. And they also managed to get Tari Eason and Ty Washington. That's a great haul right there. I think Ty, I think we're going to get at least one more year of the Kevin Porter experience. If he doesn't do that good, then we'll probably get Ty up as the point guard for the future. I think that'll be a really good fit for them. And just getting Tari Eason, this is a team that lacked defense, lacked perimeter defense, and they just got their guy. They got their guy there, and I'm surprised he fell to... Not really surprised he fell to 17th. He was projected in that range, but I had him a lot higher. And just getting a talent like Jabari Smith, who can shoot the three like that, provide also defensive versatility, you couldn't ask for a better draft. My next winner has to be the San Antonio Spurs. They literally got players that just fit the Spurs culture, right? Jeremy Sohan, I love his game. The defense versatility with him. He's a Spurs player. He's a Popovich player. That is who he is. That's just who he is. There's no better fit, as a player to scheme, to everything than that right there. He is the perfect fit. They also managed to get Malachi Branham, who I had a lot higher than he went. I have him as one of the best players from this class so far, and I just love his game. He's another player that just kind of fits what the Spurs need, what the Spurs do. And they also managed to pick up Blake Wesley. Really high upside with Blake Wesley. Really explosive, fast, athletic guard. Defensive versatility and the potential as a really good defender. Needs to improve the jump shot and finishing around the rim, but I could see him, dominating the G League or for his first year there. And the Spurs, they had like a A+ draft. Like there's so many teams that came into the draft and they did what they needed to do. Like it was perfect. My next winner, I got the Denver Nuggets. They got Christian Brown. I love Christian Brown. Super athletic, 3-and-D type of guy from Kansas, and he's just the modern like NBA role player. Like that's who you want on your team. A guy who can play really good defense, shoot threes, and he just has a great feel for the game. Like his feel for the game is like above other like 3-and-D type of players, and he just moves really well. And playing alongside Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, like this is gonna be scary. Like this Nuggets team, they have a lot of depth, and they also managed to pick up a project piece in Peyton Watson. Don't think he'll play right away, but if he does, he's going to bring in so much defensive versatility. He's going to need to improve the jump shot, the offensive game, but as a long-term piece, long-term project, there's no better player that you could have gotten there than Peyton Watson, and it's just a perfect match, perfect fit. Next winner, oh my gosh, I got the Golden State Warriors. I didn't expect them to do anything really this draft. I expected them to trade both the picks, but what they did was just terrifying. They got Patrick Baldwin Jr. and Ryan Rollins. I had Ryan Rollins as like a top like 20 guy in the class, and he fell all the way in the 40s, like 44. Apologize. And they got Patrick Baldwin at 28. These are guys that are gonna fit the culture like no other. These are like the type of players that they draft. And boy, is this is terrifying. Like their young talent, and the funny thing is that their young talent is better than most other teams that are like trying to tank consistently, right? Like I don't want to throw no shade at some teams, but some teams have been tanking for years and years and years, and the Golden State Warriors, obviously they don't do that, but they haven't done that because they have Steph Curry and Clay and all these guys, but their young talent is a lot better than a lot of the other teams that are trying to consistently tank. There weren't many like real losers to me in this draft. Like a lot of people say, oh, the Kings with Murray. I think it's a great fit because I'm pretty high on Keegan Murray. But I think there was like questionable ones. Like maybe they should have drafted the best player available, who I think is the second best in Jaden Ivey at number 4, and then just figure it out from there. Maybe the Pacers, I'm not the biggest Ben Mathurin guy, but he's a good player. But I really like what they did like in the second round, getting Andrew Nembhard, Kendall Brown. Like those are just guys that I think really fit them well and who fit. Memphis, they had an interesting draft. They traded away D'Anthony Melton to Philly for Danny Green and David Roddy, which... Getting David Roddy at 23, I think that's absurdly high. Like I had him more towards the 40s, so I don't really like. I personally don't understand really the fit. Even though I like David Roddy as like a second round guy, as like a PJ Tucker, Grant Williams type of player, but picking him up at 23, I think that's really high, to be honest. And then they also drafted, I believe it was Jake LaRavia, which I love that fit, love the pick, provide more spacing. And they picked up, I believe, Vince Williams and Kennedy Chandler. So they picked those two up. So they picked a lot of really solid role players, a lot of guys who are going to stick. And this team has so much depth, and all these guys are going to play in the league for a long time. Kennedy Chandler, going to be a great backup point guard. It was down to happen that he would end up in Memphis, hometown kid, That's just great, man. I love seeing that, for Kennedy. And the Memphis, I don't think they're like a straight up loser, but I feel like they had better options at certain picks. But you can't really complain, right? Like they got good pieces there. Does this indicate that Tyus Jones has gone in free agency? I don't know. Yeah. And I forgot to add, the Pistons also got Gabriel Procida from Italy. That's another great fit. I expect him to come in right away. If not, he'll probably stay in Europe for a year and develop a bit more. But you couldn't ask for a better fit than that right there. Another winner, and I don't know how I forgot to mention them, but I got the New Orleans Pelicans. I think what they did was they had like a picture perfect draft. I mocked them to Dyson Daniels. That's what I thought they would do as well. Like Dyson Daniels, I just think it's like the dream scenario, perfect fit. Like it doesn't get any better than that. And then also drafting E.J. Liddell in the second round. He took a big fall. They drafted him at 41. I did not expect him to fall that far. They really got guys who fit the team, fit the culture, gonna buy in, and I don't know if you could have asked for that many great fits in one night, right? Like, I feel like a lot of these guys got where they needed to go, where they needed to land, and that's just what happened. But I mean, great fits all around. Shout out to the Toronto Raptors. Really like Christian Coloco. They needed a 5-man. You know, Christian Coloco, I think he can be a starting center one day. Really good shot blocker. Just overall really good player. Not a loser, but I mean, I think you could honestly throw them in as like a winner. I mean, Atlanta Hawks selecting AJ Griffin. The only reason I'm kind of like a bit confused is because like all the wings they have on their roster, but I expect a lot of them to be gone, whether that be Bogdanovich, Gallinari. You know, Jalen Johnson didn't play last year, so that's kind of like the biggest question I have. But getting a talent who I think is the top, who's the top 5 guy in the class at 16, I mean, how much more could you want, right? So I think that's also a great fit right there. I think we have to talk about Portland. I've stated before that I'm not the biggest Shaedon Sharpe guy just because of what happens with others to the transition in high school, but I think Shaedon Sharpe landing in Portland was honestly one that I didn't think about the situation of him going to Portland and how important that is for him, because he's going to be mentored by Damian Lillard. You know, Shaedon, he wasn't the best during the interview process. Not saying that means you're like going to be bad or anything, but you know, he just didn't seem like the best interviewer. But you know, going to Portland, being you know, mentored and just learning a lot from Dame, Chauncey Billups, guys like that. Now I'm like, this is me where I'm starting to buy into now Shaedon Sharpe. You know, I think he got into a great system. Portland has been slowly one of the better developing teams coming up. You know, that's what I like about the NBA. More of these teams are starting to develop better in Portland. You know, they did that with Gary Trent, who they did trade, and then they did it with Anthony Simons as well. So yeah, I actually really like that pick. There were players I thought they could have, you know, taken there, but why not swing for the fences and take a chance on a guy like Shaedon Sharpe? Not like too certain what the Hornets like just did. Like, I would have taken Duren over Williams, but that's just my opinion. So I'm not sure like why they decided to do that trade. Like, why not just take Duren and then, you know, just get the best center prospect in my opinion. But I didn't get like everything through that trade, so I apologize for that. But you know, the Hornets, I mean, they got a center, so they got their guy in Mark Williams, and I just think that's a really good fit right there. Not the biggest fan of the Bulls pick. They picked Dalen Terry. I like Dalen Terry as a prospect. He is 6'7", so he does bring size, but I wanted them to go for someone maybe who plays more of like that 3-4 rather than a guy who's going to want to like handle the ball a bit, right? Because you already have a lot of guys who do that on the team. So I expect them to make some trades, whether that be like, you know, Kobe White or, you know, something like that. But as at a guard position, Dalen Terry, 6'7", providing that defense, that length, that energy. That's a great pick right there. Shout out the Lakers taking Max Christie. Has a really high upside. I had him as like a top, like, I think like top 20, 25. Yeah, top 20 player in the class. I think he's gonna be a 3-and-D day one. I think he's gonna shoot well from 3, especially getting open looks like this. I think it's a beautiful fit. I'm a bit confused about what the Knicks did. They did trade Ousmane Dieng, which I thought was interesting before I even heard about the trade. I thought it was an interesting fit going for like the future long run, but they did get 3 first-round picks from OKC, and I'm not saying like, oh, like, you know, how could the Knicks lose? They got 3 first-round picks for the 11th pick. It's because all the picks have a bunch of protections. So maybe like one of those picks might be like a lottery pick or like a top 10 pick. The other picks are going to be in like the late teens and in the 20s, you know, most likely. But we never really know. There's a bunch of protections too. So, you know, there's certain requirements for each protection. So we really don't know the full details yet. But just as of right now, I'm not really a big fan of the Knicks pick. Shout out the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think that, I mean, wasn't the biggest Walker Kessler like fan. Wasn't the biggest fan of that pick, but they did manage to get Wendell Moore, Josh Minot, guys who kind of fit that defense like all around. They're getting really good role players here. Minnesota, they know what they're doing. Like, I really like this fit. Shout out the Clippers, Musa Diabate. Gives you like Serge Ibaka type of vibes, so he's gonna provide really good defense day one. And shout out Cleveland, they got Ochai Agbaji, and they got Isaiah Mobley. Those are two guys who I think are like really gonna be really high level role players in the league. And for our draft recap, our winners, our losers, just my overall thoughts about it. I think it was a good draft. I think a lot of these guys landed in spots that really fit them. This is the overall recap on the winners, the losers of the draft, my overall thoughts and opinions on it. I think it was a really good draft for a lot of teams. A lot of teams really drafted well. They kind of did what they needed to do, and a lot of these prospects I expect to play good basketball. Reminds me a bit of like the 2020 draft. They say, oh, the star power, this and that, but there's some guys here who can be some true stars, and guys who are going to be really impactful for 10 plus seasons in the league. So I really like what a lot of these teams did. A lot of them drafted well. It was just overall a great night, great draft, and I'm just excited for what comes next for all these prospects. Can't wait to see them play next season. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching. We have a lot more content coming out, especially later next week, and we're gonna get ready to this off season.